At exactly 1:19 a.m. on March 8, 2014, Malaysian Air Traffic Control heard 5 words that would echo through aviation history. "Good night, Malaysian 370. The voice was calm, professional, routine. 37 seconds later, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 disappeared from civilian radar. Not a distress call, not a system failure alert, not a single warning. Just silence. 239 people. A state-of-the-art Boeing 777. Gone. But here's what they didn't tell you in those first frantic news reports. The plane didn't crash. Not then. For the next 7 hours, MH370 flew on, turning, climbing, descending through the darkness, while the world slept, unaware that one of the most advanced aircraft ever built had become a ghost. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. Scheduled service from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International. A routine red-eye flight that thousands of passengers take every year without a second thought. The aircraft, a Boeing 777-200ER, registration 9M-MRO, delivered new to Malaysia Airlines in May 2002. 12 years old, impeccably maintained. Not a single major incident on its service record. The crew, Captain Zaharia Ahmad Shah, 53 years old with over 18,000 flight hours. First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid, 27, younger and less experienced, but fully qualified. 10 cabin crew members, all veteran professionals. At 1:19 a.m., MH370 reaches the boundary between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace. The moment of handoff, Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control instructs the crew to contact Ho Chi Minh ATC on frequency 120.9. The response comes back immediately. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Voice analysis would later be unable to definitively determine whether it was the captain or first officer speaking. The tone is unremarkable, routine, but listen carefully to what happens next. Or rather, what doesn't happen, because MH370 never contacts Ho Chi Minh Control. The pilots never check in on the new frequency. And 2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., something happens that will haunt investigators for the next decade. At 1:21 a.m., 2 minutes after that final radio transmission, Flight 370's transponder stopped transmitting. For civilian air traffic controllers, the plane simply disappeared from their screens. But it didn't crash. Military radar, which doesn't rely on transponder signals, continued tracking an unidentified aircraft in MH370's last known position. And what that military radar captured would later send investigators into stunned silence. The aircraft turned. Not a gentle banking turn, not a course correction. A calculated, deliberate turn back across the Malay Peninsula, back toward Malaysia. The turn was executed at precisely the moment MH370 crossed from Malaysian to Vietnamese airspace, the exact moment when a gap in air traffic control coverage would make the plane hardest to track. This was not a mechanical failure. This was not pilot error. Someone on that plane knew exactly what they were doing. As Vietnamese controllers waited for MH370 to check in, growing increasingly concerned, the plane was already hundreds of miles off course, flying a ghost route across the dark Malaysian countryside. Malaysian military radar tracked it, crossing back over the peninsula, passing directly over the island of Penang, Captain Zahari's hometown. At 2:22 a.m., More than an hour after the transponder went dark, military radar captured its last position near the Andaman Sea. After that, primary radar lost contact, but the plane was still flying. How do we know? Because high above the Indian Ocean, a network of communication satellites operated by British company Inmarsat continued receiving automated electronic handshakes from MH370, pings from the aircraft's satellite data unit. 7 more pings. The last one came at 8:19 a.m., over 7 hours after disappearing from civilian radar, over 7 hours of flying to nowhere. By sunrise, MH370 was the biggest story on Earth. International emergency protocols activated. Search and rescue teams scrambled. But where do you search for a plane when you don't know where it went? The initial search focused on the South China Sea, the plane's original flight path. Ships from Malaysia, Vietnam, China, and the United States scoured 13,000 square miles of ocean. They found nothing, because MH370 wasn't there. It was never there. While the world searched east, the plane had gone west, then south, deep into the southern Indian Ocean, one of the most remote regions on the planet. When satellite data analysts finally calculated the flight's probable path using those Inmarsat pings, they identified a search area that made their blood run cold. An arc covering thousands of square miles of ocean floor, miles deep, in waters so remote that wreckage might never be found. In the absence of answers, theories have multiplied like fractures in glass. Some are grounded in evidence, others descend into speculation that borders on fantasy. But the question remains, what happened aboard MH370? Theory 1. Pilot suicide. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah had a home flight simulator. Investigators found that deleted files recovered from the simulator included a route remarkably similar to MH370's final path, south into the Indian Ocean, ending when fuel was exhausted. He'd recently separated from his wife. Some claimed he was politically motivated, distraught over the imprisonment of Malaysian opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim just hours before the flight. The theory suggests Zahari locked his co-pilot out of the cockpit, depressurized the cabin to render passengers unconscious, then flew a ghost ship south for hours before plunging into the ocean. It's the theory many investigators privately favor, but his family vehemently denies it. And the evidence, while suggestive, is not conclusive. Theory 2, hijacking. The 2 passengers with stolen passports, the cargo of lithium batteries. Some speculated about terrorism, though no group ever claimed responsibility. Unusual for a terror attack. Others suggested the aircraft was commandeered to be used later as a weapon. But this theory struggles with the logistics. The route taken doesn't align with any obvious hijacking objective, and the satellite data showing hours of continued flight suggests no struggle, no emergency. Theory 3, catastrophic mechanical failure, a fire in the cargo hold, perhaps sparked by those lithium batteries. Smoke incapacitating the pilots, the aircraft continuing on autopilot until fuel exhaustion. This theory seems clean, accidental, tragic, but it doesn't explain the transponder being turned off. It doesn't explain the deliberate turns. Aircraft don't accidentally fly programmed routes in the opposite direction. Theory 4, the geopolitical angles. Some researchers believe MH370 was shot down, either accidentally by military forces conducting exercises or deliberately because of sensitive cargo or passengers aboard. This theory requires a cover-up of extraordinary scale. Multiple governments, fabricated satellite data, it's possible. But the coordination required strains credibility. Theory 5. Remote hijacking or cyber interference. In 2014, Boeing 777s were equipped with fly-by-wire systems vulnerable, at least theoretically, to electronic intrusion. Could someone have taken control remotely? Security researchers have demonstrated exploits in aircraft systems, though Boeing insists such an attack on MH370 would have been impossibly complex. Still, the idea lingers. Pause. And then there are the fringe theories: alien abduction, wormholes, time displacement, claims of a passenger cell phone connecting briefly to a tower in the Maldives, reports of debris fields that were never properly investigated. The conspiracy ecosystem around MH370 is vast, contradictory, and ultimately unsatisfying. Because the truth is this: we don't know. Nearly 11 years later, with all our technology, all our expertise, all our satellites and sonar and search operations, we don't know. The aircraft is still out there, somewhere. 239 people deserve better than theories. What remains is grief. Families who gather every year on March 8th, still waiting for closure that may never come. A mother who keeps her son's bedroom exactly as he left it. A husband who files lawsuits not for money, but for truth. The Chinese government erected a memorial garden, but memorials feel premature when the victims have never been found. What remains is precedent. Aviation authorities worldwide implemented changes after MH370, real-time flight tracking, longer underwater locator beacon batteries, protocols for sharing military radar data immediately in emergencies. The industry learned from this disaster, even if they still don't understand it. Pause. What remains is debris. 33 pieces confirmed or believed to be from 9M-MRO scattered across an ocean. Fragments of a complete aircraft, each one a silent witness to events no one will ever fully reconstruct. And somewhere on the ocean floor, in the darkness, 4 kilometers deep, rests the main wreckage. The fuselage, the engines, the flight data recorders that hold every secret. In 2025, private search operations continue on a smaller scale. New technologies offer hope: improved autonomous vehicles, AI-enhanced sonar analysis. Some families have pooled resources to fund independent searches. They refuse to let the world forget. They refuse to stop looking. Beat. Because MH370 represents something more than a missing aircraft. It's a reminder of how fragile our systems are, how much we take for granted. We trust that planes don't just vanish. We trust that in an age of GPS and satellites and global connectivity, nothing can truly disappear. But Flight 370 did disappear. And until it's found, it stands as a monument to the limits of human knowledge. A 300-ton Boeing 777 carrying 239 souls, lost in the vastness of the Indian Ocean. The most sophisticated search in history couldn't find it, which raises one final unsettling question. If we can't find a massive aircraft with the entire world looking, what else have we lost without even knowing it was gone? This has been File 001 of REDACTAA. The disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 remains one of the great unsolved mysteries of the modern age. If this investigation compelled you, if these unanswered questions haunt you the way they haunt the families still searching, subscribe to REDACTAA. because we're just getting started. Every 2 weeks, we'll decrypt another classified mystery, another disappearance that defies explanation, another cover-up hiding in plain sight. The files are out there. The truth is waiting. And some stories, like MH370, demand to be told even when there are no easy answers. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. And remember, some files were never meant to be found, but we're going to find them anyway.